You're going to be on YouTube today, William. Is that okay?
That's okay with me, yeah.
And really thanks for your time. We'll have some chat soon. I prepared some questions actually.
Okay.
William has been with bees for 30 years. Isn't it, William? 30 years.
Yeah.
30 years working with bees. So I was asking you in the car while coming about how large is the beekeeping industry in WA? Is it really large?
It is very large. Be hundreds of millions of dollars.
Hundreds of millions of dollars. You mean for commercial beekeepers?
Yes, because West Australia is such a large place.
Okay.
It is 4 times larger than Texas, which is the biggest state in the USA.
I do understand.
And so we have a very large agricultural sector here.
Mm-hmm.
And because not just for fruit and vegetables, but also the grain industry.
The grain industry.
It requires pollination services, so it is a very, very big industry in Australia, and
So
West Australia especially.
Okay, you mean, William, like the income you get out of bees is mostly pollination income, or maybe honey, maybe pollen, maybe...
No, all of the above. So it's not just for pollination services, but also for honey, because West Australian honey is very unique because of our very unique plants. It produces a higher medicinal grade honey than Manuka.
It does?
It does.
How
They
come?
have done the tests, and even the New Zealanders who reckon that Manuka is the best honey, they did the test and they had to concede that West Australian honey has more medicinal properties, a stronger antimicrobial, antifungal and antibacterial properties than Manuka honey.
Are you speaking here about a specific kind of honey? Is it like a Java honey or some other sort of honey?
Well, there's a whole spectrum of different plants in Western Australia that are unique to West Australia. And you heard of the term leptospermum?
Yeah.
It's the plant genus that makes Manuka honey. But in Western Australia we have tea tree, we have jarrah, we have what they call the melaleucas, which are different, but they are also very unique. So things like bottlebrush and what's the other one? I can't think of the name. Anyway, we have a lot of unique plants that the honey that the bees produce has even higher grade medicinal properties than Manuka.
You say maybe... I've been in the supermarket lately and I've seen some Australian Manuka honey.
Yes.
Do Australians as well produce Manuka honey here?
Yes, well the thing is we've been producing Manuka honey as long as the New Zealanders. Just Australia wasn't smart enough to put the phrase Manuka. It
And
was the only New Zealanders. But in New Zealand, the plants that they use to produce Manuka honey, which are called leptospermum, they only have 2 types of leptospermum plant to produce Manuka honey. In West Australia, we have 27 different types of leptospermum plants to make Manuka honey.
okay, that's beautiful. And this is where that MGO comes from, like MGO plus 35, plus 100,
Yeah,
plus
so
50.
when you see TA factor, 20, TA factor 15, TA factor 50, 30, whatever the TA. The TA is the therapeutic activity, the therapeutic activity of the honey, right? Which is what we're talking about, right? That is the active ingredients of the honey that makes it. It's mainly for wound dressing, but it's what gives it the therapeutic benefit. Means that it will kill bacteria, will kill fungus, will kill anything. You don't get infection. They use it for wound dressing. So the higher the TA factor, the therapeutic activity of the honey, then the better it is for using for wound dressing and things like that.
Okay, I see.
All honey has therapeutic activity.
Okay, I understand. My question, William, I've seen like that Manuka honey ranges by MGO from maybe plus 35 up to 1000. Is it like the monofloral or multifloral? Is it when it comes to pure Manuka where that...
Well, look, what I can tell you, and you can see from this environment, there's a lot of things flowering here.
Okay,
right?
okay, and this is the springtime starting here.
Yeah.
أول الربيع هون, okay,
So you can
springtime.
see this yellow flower up here?
Yes, I
That's
see.
a native plant, okay?
Okay, native. We're only in Western Australia.
No, I'm not sure, but there, possibly, I can't remember. But,
Okay.
but here you can see these are just normal weeds, we call them, but it's...
Okay, I see, I
You
see.
see? So what I'm saying is, when you hear someone say, oh, this is pure, this honey, that honey, always have a little bit of other flowers. But the main part of what the bees are collecting will be from a single source.
I see, I see.
So the commercial bee operators, they go to areas where there's a specific plant in flower, and they put the bees there to collect that resources from those plants. That honey will be predominantly of that type of
Exactly. So I would say, like, if we get, it's only like sections. We'll do one section, maybe end this in like 2-3 minutes, and then we work, and when we jump to another section, and so like this. Okay. So when you say, when they say plus 1,000, do they mean here? Is it's only monofloral Manuka, but you were talking about many varieties of Manuka. Is that variation?
Manuka is the term,
Yeah.
okay, used, but it comes from a genus of plants.
Okay, I do understand.
Okay, so like you have different plants that are all of the same family. They're a little bit different, but they all come from the same family, right?
Okay.
So the plants that are used to make Manuka is actually called leptospermum, and there's many varieties of leptospermum, especially in Western Australia.
Okay.
And so all of them produce therapeutic, or the GMO that you're talking about. That's all produced by the plants that the bees are foraging on. So if it has a higher level, it just means that there's more active antifungal, antibacterial properties of the honey.
I do understand. And among these varieties, that this factor, the TA or the MGO, it change, or even the taste change, or the texture changes?
Yes. Look,
Yes.
all honey,
Yeah.
right, will taste different depending on what the bees are foraging on. The color will be different, right? And so therefore the TA factor will vary up and down.
Exactly, depending on the type of plant. Okay.
Yeah, so depending on what the bees are foraging on, the majority of the plants that they forage on will dictate what type of TA factor or GMO factor the honey will have.
Okay, I understand this. Let's go to the first section, just maybe 2 little things here to ask about, then we close this section, move to working with bees, William.
Yep.
Okay, you told me that beekeeping industry in WA is really big one, okay, and millions, maybe billions of dollars involved. And you told me what's the main source of income in this industry? Is it pollination? Is it honey mainly?
Well, it's both. So you have 2 main companies that operate in West Australia that are the commercial operators for honey production. One is called West Comby, and the other one is
Yes.
anyway, I can't remember the second one.
Okay, West
But
Comby.
anyway, but they operate all over Australia. But they come to Western Australia because they have discovered, like everyone else, that our honey is unique because of our unique plants that we have in this state. Because of that uniqueness, they come here because they know that they will get the best quality TA factor or GMO factor of the honey to produce.
Do these companies rely on pollination for income as well?
There are companies that have a pollination service that carry trucks with hundreds of hives around to do the almonds and the fruit trees and all those different things that require pollination at certain times of year. But that's a whole industry in itself.
I do.
So their concentration is more on the pollination service than the honey that is the byproduct of what they do. So they make their money from the pollination services to the farmers or the fruit growers or the agricultural area that want to pollinate their crops.
Okay, that's
But then you have the other people like West Comby and Capilano. That's the other one. Capilano is the other company. Those companies, they're concentrating on producing the honey.
Okay.
And so while they will also do pollination services where it's required, they mainly concentrate on collecting the honey.
Okay.
So they make their money from selling the honey.
How is that industry organized here in Western Australia?
It's all government services. You have to be registered, and you can see my brand on there, WMO.
Okay.
So I am registered as an apiarist with the Australian Agricultural Society.
Okay, it's just one society that governs all.
Well, it comes under livestock, believe it or not. And so beekeeping is considered livestock.
Livestock.
Okay, so it has to be, for me to move bees and to do things with bees, I have to be registered.
Okay.
Each hive has to be registered. Okay, so in West Australia, there's the Apiary Society that after I'm registered with the Agriculture Society, I also have to register my hives with the West Australian Beekeeping Association.
Okay.
And I pay for a registration for every hive I have.
I do say. Okay.
And the reason behind that is the traceability. So if there's ever an issue with someone I sell honey to and they get sick or some other incident, they can come back and say, who was it, where you get it from? And because I'm registered, they know it comes from me, it comes from my bees. They will come and investigate.
Okay.
So it's all part of the Agricultural Society's control over any problems that may exist or any diseases such as varroa mite or other pests or diseases within bees. It's all got to be traceable. So to trace it, you need to be registered.
Okay, trace it. They trace it. So you report only to this organization or this agricultural maybe ministry or whatever?
Well, there's two components to it. There's the federal, the whole of Australia, which is the Agricultural Society. Then within Australia, within Western Australia, it is just the West Australian Beekeeping Association. And so what they are like an adjunct, a connection with beekeeping in this state. So because we are separate, as I told you before, in West Australia you can't take bees from the eastern states and bring them to Western Australia. So the West Australian Society, they monitor that everybody is just contained and not moving bees across the state borders and things like that. And so that's why each hive is registered with the West Australian Beekeeping Association.
Okay, great. And do you usually get help from this organization?
You don't really get much help. They always want to put their hand in your pocket. So
they get help out of you, yeah.
Because, like for instance, here I'm in suburbia. I know it looks like bush here, but this land is actually owned by the Main Roads Department. And because I'm closely associated with the community garden, which is just the other side of those trees, I had to get permission from the community garden. I had to get permission from the Main Roads because it's their land. But then I also had to get permission from the local council. And they, of course, want to charge me some money too. So I pay for my beekeeping registration with the Australian Agriculture Society. I paid to the West Australian Beekeeping Association to register my hives. And I also paid to the local council for the right to be able to keep bees.
Oh, so 3 bills maybe. Okay. So I think this section is... I'm done with this section. Let's move to working with bees, Wiliam, and we'll move on with this question and answer thing. It's not a formal interview. And thank you so much for your time and for this wealth of information. It's going to be recorded. I'll do a translation for it, and it's going to be recorded for kind of like years and ever maybe. Thank you so much, Wiliam. Let's move to work now.
Okay.
Bye now.